Hello, welcome to HITC Sport. Right, it's always tough accepting when you've hit rock bottom. For me, that day will be August the 2nd, and we all know why. But for you, in lockdown last year, you probably all came across that so many times. You know, when loneliness forced you to beg the postman for a hug, or when you tried to initiate a conversation with the toaster, and trust me, I get it, alright? Romancing the hole behind the radiator isn't a part of laughs either. But make no mistake about it, this has been a mental Premier League season. The amount of freak results, massive thrashings, honestly in some games, the manual on how to defend was clearly force-fed through a cheese grater. Some of these results, they won't ever happen again to these clubs in their entire existence. Anyway, right, to prove it, let's take a look at every Premier League club's rock bottom moment this season. Alright, let's go. And yes, I realise it's still Jack Grealish Appreciation Week. He's a very good player. Moving on before I get sick out my nose. Arsenal, 0-0 versus Villarreal. Okay, trying to choose a rock bottom moment for Arsenal this season. It'd be like trying to find a rock bottom moment for Matthew Perry in the 90s. I mean, where do you want to start? He looks like the type of guy who probably spent 1997 licking peanut butter off a toilet wall. Where do you want to start? How about getting pulled apart 3-0 by Aston Villa at the Emirates? For Arsenal Football Club, that should never happen. If there are fans in the stadium, you'd be damn sure they would be puking up their ring into a bathroom sink at half time. Listen, Arsenal fans have nice memories about meeting Villarreal in European semi-finals, right? Well, not anymore. Being knocked out of the Europa League after a goalless draw at home in the second leg, with Mikel Arteta being out-tacticked by Unai Emery. Absolutely horrible. If only you had Jack Grealish in your team. Oh, then you'd have won the game for sure. The guy's got more creativity in his left eyebrow than most of the Arsenal players do in their entire being. Oh yes, hail Jack Grealish. Let's all queue up to drink pints of his sweat out of a children's lunchbox. Hooray. 5 minutes, try it in, half million subscribers as soon as possible. If you're not subscribed, then what are you doing, huh? Watching James Lawrence Olcott Football Daily? Come on lads, just smash that big fat red subscribe button. You know you want to do it. Anyway, that's enough of that, back into the video. Right, Aston Villa 3-0 versus Leeds. Okay, listen, it's been a good season for Aston Villa. Good, not great. I mean, getting top half at Leeds United's expense, that would have been great, and especially for me and my skin. But don't forget lads, you lost 17 games of football this season, and when Jack Grealish was injured, taking him out of your team and expecting to win matches, it's like filling a human man's nutsack with orange juice and expecting him to then impregnate his wife. With what, his bastard elbow? Oh, what a wonderful player Jack Grealish is. Someone get this man a Ballon d'Or. Villa hate Leeds United after their fiery clash in the Championship 2 years ago, and Patrick Bamford, after a light tap in the face that day, he then pretended like he'd had his eyeballs lacerated with a fork. Oh, the last thing Villa fans then would have wanted to see was this noodle-armed violinist leaving their stadium with a Premier League hat-trick. Brighton 4-2 versus Everton. This result back in September would have flattened Brighton's skulls. The previous week, they both scored and conceded a last-minute winner to Man United in the last minute. In a 3-2 defeat, they probably threatened to break their brain. So following that up by going to Goodison Park and getting absolutely trashed 4-2, James Rodriguez picking them off with a brace. Yeah, Graham Potter must be foaming at the teeth, and Brighton fans mentally preparing for relegation. Burnley 4-0 versus Leeds. Lads, what sort of Premier League outfit both wins 4-0 away from home and then loses 4-0 at home in the space of 3 weeks? Turf Moor is supposed to be a fortress, right? And yet here Burnley were losing 4-0 home to Leeds, in a result that made me utterly sick to my teeth, and we all know why. Thanks Burnley, I'm going to remember you on August the 2nd. God, that is going to be a traumatic night. Chelsea 5-2 versus West Brom. This was a match which just didn't make any sense. I know Thiago Silva was sent off early doors, but still, here was the Thomas Tuchel organised Chelsea team coming up against Big Sam's West Brom, and then to lose 5-2 at home. I know it was 10 men against 11, but still, Allardyce teams are supposed to be long ball merchants, isn't that right, Mikel Antonio? No, not here. They were carving through Chelsea like a butter knife, knocking the ball above Stamford Bridge like they were Brazil. West Brom! I might understand if West Brom had a pass and move manager like Roberto Martinez in the dugout, but this was Big Sam! 5-2? This was honestly like watching an elephant do the splits. We've established Callum Robinson's a championship footballer, right? Well, here he scores his 5th goal against Chelsea with a brace. I'm sorry, the Champions League and FA Cup finalists, conceding 5 at home to a team who will be playing Peterborough and Luton Town next season? It made absolutely no sense. Crystal Palace 7-0 versus Liverpool. Lads, this is a season where Liverpool both scored and conceded 7 goals in a match this season. What is going on? Even turning up to Selhurst Park to win 7-0 in December. It doesn't really fit with Liverpool's season. Lads, Liverpool fans, they would have torn off their nutsack to win 7-0 at Crystal Palace back in 2014. But here, they didn't really need to do this. Let's not forget, the Reds this season There at times were an absolute mess. After this game, they went 6 home matches without scoring a single goal. This was a low on confidence, low scoring, brittle team. So to then turn up to an organised mid-table side like Crystal Palace and win 7-0, this was the first time Palace conceded 7 at home in their entire history as a football club. Horrendous, awful result, and it doesn't get talked about enough. Everton 5-0 versus Man City. Where do you want to start? This season, Everton have lost at home to Man United, Leeds, West Ham, Newcastle, Fulham, Burnley, Aston Villa, and most unforgivably of all, Sheffield United, where a teenage boy scored the winner. These were all shambolic results, but the rock bottom moment, the straw that probably broke their back, was on the last day. Carlo Ancelotti's worst result of his managerial career, getting flattened 5-0 by Man City. And lads, if City had scored a 6th in that match and I had to drink expired milk, I'd have actually just cried on the spot. Honestly, when Aguero headed in the 5th goal with 50 minutes left on the clock, I started sweating like Martin Bashir this week. For an ambitious club like Everton to be utterly steamrolled like this, let's not forget there was £250 million worth of Everton talent in this starting lineup, and with a 3-time Champions League winning coach in their dugout, this surely has to be a rock bottom moment. Fulham 2-0 versus Newcastle. It's weird. In a season of many thrashings across the country, Fulham haven't actually lost a game with more than 3 goals, and haven't lost a game with more than 2 goals since September. But they've still been mostly damp toilet water, especially going forward. I would say the rock bottom moment was probably the last game of the season. Yes, relegation was confirmed, but for months, Fulham versus Newcastle on the last day was pinpointed by pundits as a mammoth game. The one that would determine who stays up and who goes down. Well, by the time this game rolled around, to see Newcastle easily win 2-0 at Craven Cottage to move 17 points clear of Fulham kind of shows you what a feeble non-fight Scott Parker and his boys actually put up. 17 points. Leeds 6-2 versus Man United. Yeah, this is what happens when Marcelo Bielsa tactics backfire. This was like going to a risky barber. You know, the one who on a good day will give you a great haircut, but on a bad day will probably chop off your ear. Listen, yes, Leeds United rocked up to Old Trafford and dominated possession for probably the first time since the 70s. And they had 17 shots on target. It sounds great. It sounds like an absolute dream for Leeds fans. But I'm sorry, this was Leeds' first derby match against Manchester United in the Premier League since 2004. And the fact that Scott McTominay was searching for a hat-trick after just 3 minutes, the fact they watched their team concede 6 that afternoon, the fact Man United had 40 efforts at goal, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's men could realistically have banked in 12 that afternoon. Listen, Marcelo Bielsa did a great job this season at my expense. But make no mistake about it, it doesn't matter how brave Leeds were on that day, they were also ridiculously naive, conceding 6 goals against Manchester United. For your average Leeds fan, that was a cardinal sin and a massive bleach stain on your season. Leicester 4-2 versus Newcastle. Yeah, here we have Leicester City bottling the Champions League for the 2nd season running, but that's what happens when you lose your last 2 home games 4-2 against mid-table teams. I'll go for the early May collapse against Newcastle. For a side chasing Europe, to find yourselves 4-0 down to a team coached by Steve Bruce, yeah, they scrambled back 2 consolation goals, but honestly, the Leicester defenders that day resembled a big lump of soggy scrambled egg. This was a bottle job. You could not concede 8 goals in your last 2 home games of the season and then demand Champions League football. No chance. Liverpool 7-2 versus Aston Villa. Listen, Liverpool's true rock bottom moment was arguably when Man City rocked up at Anfield at spanking 4, or maybe watching Fulham, yes, Fulham, leave Anfield with all 3 points. But still, those results will be forgotten in a year. But losing 7-2 at Villa Park, this result is like a permanent tattoo, just scarring the fans' brains for all of eternity. I'm sorry, but this is the weirdest result in the history of the Premier League. This was even before the defensive crisis. Virgil van Dijk was on the pitch. Lads, 64 points separated these 2 teams last season. And yet here, despite dominating 70% possession of the ball, they allowed Villa to have 18 shots on target. They were 4-1 down at half-time and it finished 7-2. Watching a former Everton beefcake like Ross Barkley dominate your midfield on his debut, watching Ollie Watkins utterly expose your high line, this was just 90 minutes of utterly excruciating embarrassment. Man City 5-2 versus Leicester. Imagine predicting Man City to possibly win a treble this season after their first home match of the season. A defense featuring Nathan Ake and Eric Garcia, but who that afternoon resembled 2 expensive squash pancakes, losing 5-2, conceding 3 penalties in 1 match. Without a doubt, this was an utterly rock bottom moment for Pep Guardiola. Man United 6-1 versus Tottenham. Let's be honest, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is lucky to have kept his job after this. 6-1 at home to a team coached by Jose Mourinho. 6-1 at home to Tottenham. Sir Alex Ferguson's team talk against Spurs used to be, lads, it's only Tottenham. Only Tottenham. 6-1 only Tottenham. 6-1 at home to a team who'd end up finishing 7th in the damn league. Newcastle 5-2 versus Leeds. There were a lot of hideous moments for Newcastle this season, like losing to Sheffield United in January, but I think the aesthetic value of looking like a ramshackle bunch of circus clowns without a defensive bone in their body in a game where Steve Bruce looks so far out of his depth against a tactical genius like Marcelo Bielsa. This is just so painful to watch. Let's not forget, Leeds are a newly promoted team, and here they were easily sticking 5 goals past Carl Darlow. The fact they created 35 shots at goal, dominated 69% of possession. Let's not forget, Newcastle hadn't lost at Ellen Road since 1999, so this sort of defending, absolutely embarrassing. Sheffield United 5-0 versus Leicester. Yeah, the first game after Chris Wilder quit the club, and this mid-March game almost confirmed relegation. Not mathematically, but the absolute lack of fight and hunger shown by the players. You knew they'd given up. 5-0 away at Leicester City. Kelechi Iheanacho spanked in an easy hat-trick. Horrible afternoon for Paul Hickingbottom. But to be fair, what's he doing in the Premier League? He sounds like a Dr. Seuss character. Southampton 9-0 versus Man United. Is this some sort of sick joke? Losing 9-0 should not be an annual occurrence for a football club. That is 2 seasons in a row Southampton succeeded 9 in 1 match. I think everyone just sweeps this result under the carpet. No, I'm sorry. I'll remind you, Southampton, you lost 9-0 again. How has Ralph Hasenhüttl been allowed to get away with that? Tottenham 3-0 versus Dynamo Zagreb. Let's be honest, this is the game where Jose Mourinho got the sack. Winning 2-0 from the first leg against Dynamo Zagreb in the Europa League, to then utterly fold in Croatia, losing 3-0 after extra time, conceding a hat-trick to Miroslav Orsic, some fella who just spat out of the South Korean leagues, and against a club whose manager was just being sent to prison. Absolute nightmare result. West Brom 5-0 versus Leeds. Listen, there's many rock bottom moments for West Brom this season, but I'll go for late December, a 5-0 loss at home to Leeds. Listen, this was the match where Sam Allardyce probably knew he'd messed up accepting the job. Normally Big Sam teams would then grind out a result at home to a newly promoted side, not lose 5-0 having 24% possession of the ball. Allardyce is a set piece specialist, right? Well here, West Brom forced 3 corners all match. They barely laid a glove on Leeds. Utterly rotten result. West Ham 3-2 versus Newcastle. Yeah, this was the game where West Ham's Champions League hopes collapsed. Travelling to St James's Park in mid-April to face a relegation threatened side, a win would have taken the Hammers third. Yes, third in the Premier League. Lads, they'd have been within 5 points of Man United in second. But no, they bottle it. Craig Dawson gets sent off. Joe Willock scores the winner and they lose 3-2. Wolves 4-0 versus Burnley. This was the match which probably confirmed that Nuno Espirito Santo had taken the Wolves project as far as it could possibly go. But it was 4-0 home to Burnley. To watch Chris Wood from New Zealand score a first half hat-trick at Molyneux. This is a Wolves team who are supposed to be challenging for Champions League football this season, right? That was the goal, and yet here, 4-0 loss home to Burnley. At home to a team about to finish 17th in the damn league. Anyway, that's it. Let me know what do you think was your rock bottom moment. Mine was obviously Patrick Bamford. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.